You said last summer that you estimated the post-war reconstruction of Ukraine to cost about $750 billion. Given the recent attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructures, are you raising that number?
According to our estimations, which are verified by the World Bank, as on the June 1st of this year, the cost of all damages was $350 billion. But now, Anna Bierde, Vice President of World Bank, estimate these damages and all our losses in the amount about $700 billion. These estimations are the same like we have previously, 750. We understand that all the new 8 rocket shells which Russians made for the last 1.5 months bring us more damages in our electricity infrastructure. Each power station, heating power station in Ukraine is damaged by rocket or drones from Russia. And we understand that it will bring us more needs for recovery. Transformators, electricity grids, special electricity equipments, this all we need right now. And actually this was one of the issues which we discussed during today's conference, how to survive through this winter, because many millions of people in Ukraine are suffering because of this terrorist activity from Russia's side, because of this massive rocket attacks. More than 12 billion people are suffering. They have no light, or they have light by some hours per day. So it's really terrible situation when our economy, when our schools, hospitals can't work normally because of the lack of electricity.
So how much does Ukraine need to fix this energy grid? And do you believe now that this total cost of reconstruction could actually be nearer $1 trillion, perhaps?
If Russians will continue, it will cost so. But now we understand that it's about $750 billion. We understand that Russian frozen assets should be like a basis for future financing of recovery of Ukrainian infrastructure, of Ukrainian businesses, because we understand that infrastructure is destroyed, but we didn't count yet cost of business losses of our enterprises. We didn't count all the damages on the occupied territories. We didn't count how much will cost losses of the human capital, because about 4 million Ukrainians still are abroad. There still are refugees. More than 7 million Ukrainians are internally displaced persons, and we understand that all of this have a huge and terrible influence on our economy. We lost about 30% of our GDP. Ukrainians are very adaptive nation, and we make this adaptation, and we all can work with generators, with conditions of war. Because of this, we have better conditions than we were count before because of the war influences. But in any way, next year we count that we should have a short increasing of our GDP. But if Russians will continue their terroristic attacks, our GDP can decrease a little bit from 3 to 9% per year.
So that means, given the recent attacks on the energy infrastructure, the possibility of all these blackouts, your GDP could go lower than zero next year, as well as this year was a 30% contraction. Next year you plan a small increase, as you mentioned. So you think this small increase could actually be threatened?
Absolutely, they can do it if they will continue and destroy our infrastructure. We will have total blackout, so it will lead to the next migrant wave from Ukraine. It will lead to the losses in the economy because enterprises couldn't work. But I should emphasize that our economy, our people are adapting even to these conditions, and we have a very good support from our partners, and during this conference we find another €500 million for support of Ukraine in the energy sphere by generators, by transformators, by special parts for recovery and rebuilding of energy and other infrastructure. We will sign additional agreement with European Bank Reconstruction and Development, with government and companies of France, and we will have additional possibility and additional support from our partners. This is what led us to survive this winter, and actually it was the main point of efforts during this conference: how to survive this winter to Ukrainian economy, to Ukrainian people, how to perform our social and humanitarian responsibilities as a government, as a state. And I'm sure that we will manage this with support of our partners, will win this war, and will realize the biggest ever project of recovery on European continent, together with European countries, with the European Union.
The IMF, for example, is considering a program of up to $20 billion next year. Given the blackouts, the energy damages, would you consider asking for a bigger program from the IMF?
We work closely with IMF on the everyday basis. Now we have acting program, monitoring program from IMF. We count that we will have not later than in the end of the first quarter next year full-scale EFF program for the long term, 3 to 4 years. We discuss now this with IMF, and we hope that this program will cover our needs during 2023 and next years. We have now agreed with European Commission and European Union that we will have 18 billion for covering of budget deficit, direct budget support from European Union and the European Commission. We hope that we will have additionally 10 billion from United States as a grants for direct budget support, and we hope and count that this program of IMF will let us to cover the rest of the budget deficit for the next year. Total amount is $38 billion of our budget deficit. This is about like in this year. This situation is connected with losing of our GDP and with dramatically increasing of our military expenses during this war. War cost too much, and war cost very expensive. So we all together cover these expenses to win and to protect democracy.
Ukraine said they wanted to extend the grain deal for next year and include more the port of Mykolaiv. How are those talks going?
So now we have grain corridor, and we have this initiative of President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, grain from Ukraine. Each month we export about 4 million tons of Ukrainian grain from Odessa seaports. Mykolaiv seaports will let us export plus 2 another million tons. So it let us increase our export possibilities and capacities. It will let African and Middle East countries to have more grain to manage this situation which we have, which they all have now, when they have lack of products for food products. So we hope that this initiative will be realized, and we will have opened all the seaports, Ukrainian seaports, and will export as much of grain as will be enough for a better situation in African and Middle East countries. We work and do our best for this. So the question is to the Russians, how long they will blackmailing all the world by this food crisis and by famine, by possible famine in many countries around the world.
Based on this roadmap, do you believe a ceasefire or any kind of peace talks progress is possible by this Christmas?
I believe that Russians should stop the fight, should leave our territory and the war will finish immediately. So this is only the reason why this war still continue, because of they want this. And actually, I don't believe into the temporarily ceasefire, because Russians will use it just for regrouping, reinforcing, and then they will continue this war. So they should stop this war, they should stop to fight, and we will have a peace on the European continent, and we will develop our country. And
but do you see any signs of progress? Yeah?
we'll see. But while Russians will not stop this war, we will protect our country, our land. We will liberate our lands on the battlefield. If they wouldn't like to solve this diplomatically and just leave our lands, our territory, so we will fight and will liberate our Ukrainian lands with support our partners. Thank you.